Hi, Susan and Tatiana. So I've chosen to show my learning for this learning block in sort of the form of a video podcast, and I also have a couple of visuals as well. So I started in going through the OCT guidelines, sort of what stood out to me the most right away was the vision of the educator description that they had, and then just after that, the image of the student. And in reading both of these sections, I noticed a lot of sort of crossover in that the things we were hoping to cultivate in ourselves through this course were also going to be the same types of characteristics and that we're going to hope to cultivate in our own students as TLs. So I decided to show that in this little Venn diagram here. So I'll just read the description. In reading the OCT guidelines for this AQ, one thing that really struck me is how the qualities we strive to learn about and embody will intersect those of our students in the future. The attributes we will be learning about and developing in ourselves are the same as those that we will want to develop and encourage in our students as teacher librarians. In fully diving into this course, we will strengthen characteristics that will greatly benefit and positively impact our students because we will be able to pass those same skills on to them. Below is an illustration of that interchange. So I've titled it here, How the Qualities of a Teacher Librarian Intersects Those of Their Students. So on the one side, I have the image of the student over here, and then on the left side I have the vision of the teacher librarian, and then this part here, they intersect, is what I found the most interesting. So of course, critical and creative thinkers, we're trying to think critically and creatively throughout this whole course, and of course we want that to be developed in our own students as well later on. Reflective and knowledgeable, responsive leaders who are respectful of equity and diversity, collaborative partners and leaders, and ethical decision makers. Of course, there's also important attributes on either side here, but these are the ones that I felt crossed over the most, and I found, really, really interesting and kind of cool that all of these things that we're going to really try to focus on and that will serve us well in this course are, of course, things that are going to help our students as well. So that was my first visual there to kind of show the connections that I saw between the types of sort of students that we're professional students that we are striving to be in this course, and how that's reflected in the types of students that the characteristics that we're going to try to cultivate in our own students. The next thing that I went through is there were these guiding concepts and theoretical foundations and of all sorts of different aspects of the role and the course. So I copy and pasted the ones from the OCT guidelines that I felt really sort of stood out to me the most, or that I felt most drawn to, as you can see there, that I really looked at and was like, yeah, that's something that I'm really excited about, or that's something that I really feel is one of the more important roles of the teacher librarian. And I ended up with this big, huge, long list of all of these guiding concepts. And then I was like, okay, now I don't know, what do I do with it? So what I ended up doing was creating this sort of little infographic here. So I copy and pasted that whole list of bullet points and put them into Wordle. And I was just really interested. At first, it was just, I was curious to see what words were going to come up the most, and I was sort of just going to use that as a jumping off point to say, like, okay, well, this is, what was repeated the most, what could be given the most emphasis. But when I looked at the Wordle, I noticed that, of course, learning is the biggest word, and that makes sense, of course, because we're learning ourselves and we're supporting our students' learning as well. And making them into even better learners, lifelong learners, independent learners, collaborative learners. So that made a ton of sense to me that was the biggest word on the graphic. But then in looking at all of the words around it, I noticed that it almost looks like they're sort of like buoying up the word learning or supporting it. And it struck me that all of these other things, development, collaboratively, dialogue, inquiry, designing, facilitating, impact, understanding, all of these things, deepening, fostering, man, there's so many good ones. All of those things are things that impact and support student learning. And these are all things that the teacher librarian does. We work collaboratively with teachers and students to make sure that they're reaching their potential, their greatest possible potential. We're helping with things like evaluation and deepening understanding. We are facilitating lessons. We're helping teachers design lessons. Reflection, we're cultivating reflection skills in our students, and then also taking their reflections and learning from them. We were talking about, I remember talking about that a bit in one of my responses for the other sections, that sort of coding their responses and learning from their own reflections, where more help might be needed, or where they have a really strong understanding, we can just build on that from there. So for me, this Wordle sort of encompasses and really visually represents the impact that a TL can have on students in helping them foster positivity, deepening their understanding, relating to one another, reflecting, leading, all of these wonderful, wonderful words, promoting a sense of community. And for me, that's what the library program is all about, and the role of the teacher librarian is really embodying all of these words and all of these roles that make up the bigger role of the teacher librarian. And yeah, I'm really excited to one day fill that role and help all of my students with their learning and becoming the best possible lifelong learners that they can be. Yeah, so that's about it. Thanks so much for listening to me go on, and I hope that you liked it. I'll also attach both of my visuals in this post as well, so you can take another look if you need to. All right, talk to you guys later.